Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start learning Next.js. Okay. Now, I have not touched Next.js for like ages. So for me, it's gonna be refresher, and of course, this is the framework of React. Just how you have jQuery for JavaScript, you have for Next.js for React. So it has a lot of benefits. Like it has its own backend in Node.js. It has its front end. So it's like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you didn't have Next.js, you had to set up front end yourself. You had to set up backend yourself. But Next.js is your one-stop shop. So you can have a complete entire project in this Next.js. So backend you can use Postgres or any other database system, and the front end again backend is also React and front end is also React, which is great. So you have everything in JavaScript. You can use MongoDB for database, so you can use any database sources. So let's start. I think what they are building is some kind of a dashboard, a backend dashboard, where they're going to be posts, customers. I think they're calling invoice. They're calling this project as Acme, and you're going to have like a home page, login page. So login will also be there. So you'll learn about authentication, and dashboard pages are protected by authentication. Somebody else without the login and password cannot log in. So Next.js has all those features, because otherwise you have to build all of these things yourself. And when you go for big projects, they're going to ask you to use Next.js. Okay, styling, optimization, routing, data fetching, all these things. React is JavaScript. On the ideally it's JavaScript on the client side, and Node.js is a runtime environment basically, on which JavaScript, I wouldn't say backend, I would say it's an environment on which React or JavaScript runs. React is nothing but JavaScript. So on simplified further, React is basically JavaScript. Okay, but I guess you were distracting me from learning Next.js. Let's keep the questions limited to Next.js. Uh, Prerequisite knowledge. So it assumes you understand JavaScript and React, but that's fine if you don't. And system requirement, all that stuff. Okay, so let's move on. So first chapter. So npm is a package manager with the help of which you can install these packages. That's good. Yeah, it's a package manager. So it's like for example, you create, let's say for example, login functionality. Now other people are going to use it also, right? So how are you going to give it to them? So you package it in form of a package, and then you publish it on a library called Node Package Manager. So all the packages are kind of it's just like a shop. You put all the products on the shop. Similarly, your npm is basically a package manager where you publish your packages and people can install it from there. So npm install gp npm. So they want you to use pnpm instead of npm. I guess it's more efficient than npm or yarn. It's also a package manager. You can always test about it. So fast disk space efficient package manager. So we will just go with what they are asking us to do. So I'm going. No, it's not language. It's a package manager. It's a package manager, no? It's a efficient package manager. So there are different types of package manager. There's npm, there's yarn. So hmm, we're gonna do this one. So we are installing this globally, okay? Not on this project, but globally, so that we can use it. So we installed it. Then they have this command which will allow us to go to this package, and then there is yeah, I am. So then there is this GitHub repository. It's going to use this repository to download that package. So we'll run that command to do that. It's gonna So it's gonna ask you a bunch of questions. You want to install this package? Yes. So it's installing it, and I think it did. So now it installed it inside of a directory called Nextjs-dashboard. That's what this means, is install it in this directory. Okay, so I'm going to cd into that Nextjs-dashboard. Okay, so now we are here. I'm going to do an rf dot git, so that I don't want their git repository, I want my own. So that's why I'm going to just rf remove. Rf matlab, I think it's recursively. So anytime a git repository is created, it creates a hidden folder called git, which is where it stores all the information. So I'm going to remove that. So now it's no longer a git repository. Now here it talks about it's using this command line interface CLI tool that sets up a Next.js application for you, and it's using an example from this repository. Okay, so it gives you kind of a starter template to work with. Moving on, so I already cd'd into the Next.js dashboard directory. I'm going to open this into the core editor. I'm using PHP Storm, so I'm going to use that. Open projects. Next.js dashboard. No, I like this one. Okay, so Next.js dashboard, close everything. So this is my project basically, okay, which has been downloaded. Now moving on. Folder structure they're explaining. You'll notice this folder project has this structure: app, lib, UI, public. That's what we have. App, public, all that. Inside of app you have lib and UI, so that's fine. App contains all the routes. Routes are basically like, for example, you go to /about/home/ contact us. So the different pages are basically routes. So this app directory contains all the routes, and the lib contains, and this is where we'll be working on inside of this directory. This contains all the functions used in your applications, such as reusable utility functions. So in the library you'll be keeping all the functions that we are writing that we're going to need for this project. So it's already added some dummy functions and some dummy data. You can, I mean, you can think like that, not exactly, but you can think on similar grounds. It's making you, it's like giving you, how do I explain to you? It's giving you a ready-made cooked meal for you to consume rather than you making it yourself. Okay? Yeah, exactly. So it's setting up all those things which you will manually set up otherwise. Whatever you had to do manually, it's kind of doing that for you. And then it's giving you its own custom commands. Like in jQuery, instead of add event listener, you were doing jQuery on or whatever. Similarly, it's created its own command which is internally running those commands which we were supposed to do otherwise. So making things easier for you. Anyways, this contains UI components for your applications. So this has customers dashboard. So everything is a component basically. Every piece you see on the front end is a component. So you'll place component in UIs. Public contains all the static assets such as images. Good. So here you have these images and stuff like that. Moving on. Feel free to explore these folders. Placeholder data. When you building interface, it helps you use some placeholder data, which I've already shown you just now. Here, it's got some placeholder data, because how is gonna render all those data? It has to come from somewhere. In the future, it's gonna come from the database. Right now, we're just using some dummy data. Okay. They're using. Hmm? Yes. 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 They're also saying you can use mock API also. Like there are certain dummy APIs available which you can use to call that API and get the data if you want to. But they're just using um, dummy return. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. With time, don't worry. Okay, so in the chapter on setting up your database, you'll use this data to seed your database. So I guess they'll also teach you how to, basically use database. Setting up your data. Oh, there you're going to use Postgres SQL. Okay. Yeah. So we'll come to that. Not so quickly, but we'll come to that. Okay, looks like they're going to use TypeScript, and the sooner you learn, the better it is. TypeScript is nothing but JavaScript, but it's strictly typed language, which means in JavaScript, if you had to create this object, you will just create something like this. Let me show you. So let's say in JavaScript, you'll just say, I'm just going to comment this out so you see the difference. In JavaScript, you'll just say const invoice equals ID, maybe 12 customer ID, 13, whatever. Okay, you just do this, but in TypeScript it wants you to specify what type it is. Okay, so you have to define the type. So it's type is invoice. Okay, so that means everything has to match from this. If you have something missing, it's going to tell you that. It's saying, see, it's saying ID string customer ID not assignable to variable type invoice. Yeah, so you have to define the type, basically it's type. That's why it's benefit of using TypeScript instead of JavaScript is that it's you will get less errors because you are explicitly saying ID has to be string. If somebody sends number, it's not gonna work, it's gonna fail. So you are kind of ruling out the issues that you'll have in future. So big companies always prefer you to use TypeScript. We also use in our projects. Okay, now it's okay if you don't know TypeScript. We'll provide code snippets when required. Now take a look at this definition. Definition is where we define those types, like customer. For example, if you create any object which is of type customer, it should have ID, name, email, image of this data type. So it's like cook. Correct. Okay. So here they have defined all the types that have been used on the project. Moving on. This is just an example which I've already explained. Okay, now we're going to run a development server. It says pnpm I to install. I stands for install. Generally, you will do npm install. When you do npm install, like for example here, what it does is it looks at the package.json file, and whatever packages have been defined here, it's going to install that for you. Okay, but since we're using pnpm, we can either say pnpm install or we can just say pnpm I as a short form. And this is going to, okay, so this requires a version of Node.js 18.12. So this is not going to work. So we have to change the version. So do they have NVM? Let me see. No. So instead, so there will be you'll be working on multiple projects with clients. Each project might require you to have different kind of version for Node.js. So there is a manager for that also, and that's called NVM. So you can just mention this. I guess this should work. Let's see. Already installed. Okay, see, I have multiple Node version installed, and if you want to know where it's installed, you can say which, and then Node, and it's going to tell you where it's installed. Now if I say ls cat, oops. Yeah, ls is to list down. But anyways, so now I'm using, if I check now node version, I'm using what they expect me to use, which is 18.2, and nvm is something that allowed me to quickly switch to that particular node version. Okay, and if it doesn't have it, it would have installed it. So next time I want to use it. Okay, so again I'll run that command now, pnpm I. Oops, what just happened there? Why it's not found? Oops, I think why it's not found? Command not found. No, I think it's the pnpm is the issue. But I did install pnpm, so why it's saying that? I installed it globally. Which pnpm? It's installed here. So if I run this install, that should work. It's working. So what happens is when you install a package, you need to define its path into ZSH file so that it knows it needs to have an alias for this. So it doesn't understand pnpm. So in that file you have to go and define its alias, and you have to say, okay, so anytime I say pnpm, use this. So I don't want to do that right now. So I have just, instead of using pnpm as short form, I've just used this path, and then I've just used installed after that. So it's gone ahead and looks like yeah, looks like there's one more issue here. It says unsupported engine wanted a node this, but it's this. So we should upgrade it. VM okay, so it's installing that. Now using this. So I'm going to remove that. So anytime you install the package, it installs it inside of this node module directory. All the packages get installed here. Okay, so I'm going to remove that rmrf node module, because now I changed my version of the node. So now I want to do it, reinstall it. So again I'll run this command. Okay, now I didn't get any error. Earlier I was getting this error, right? That version is required, but now I'm not getting it, so that's fine. So it's installed all of these things, dependencies, dev dependencies, which is great. It looks more cleaner also. See, if I would have done it by nodes, it wouldn't have done it so cleanly. See, it tells me what all it's installed and what version of that. So pnpm is, looks like it's good. That's why Next.js. Next.js is not a small company. It's a very, very big company. Like, oh, if you look at the showcase, all the big shots are using it. Look at this. Nike is using it. OpenAI, Spotify. Uh, who else is there? Yeah, yeah. Parachute, LG. All of these people are using it. HBO Max. These big AT&T. All big companies are using it. So it's reliable and it's very good. They keep on upgrading stuff. No, as I explained to you, it's a library. It's kind of a uh, framework. Sorry, not library. Framework. Framework is something bigger compared to library. Library is just like a bunch of things wrapped inside of a function. But here there is more to it. You have your setup, how the project is set up, all of those things, functionalities, all those things are there. Okay. If you look at Node, I think you keep getting confused between what Node is. A runtime environment in which your JavaScript runs. Got it? So don't get confused. I know that you keep asking the question. It's a runtime environment, and it runs on the V8 JavaScript engine, which I guess Chrome has its own JavaScript engine, which is V8 only, I believe. It's the same. Chrome uses the same runtime engine. So that environment you can use on terminal also. So you can run node on terminal also. If you do node, see, it's running it. You can do, I guess, 4 plus 4, 8. So you can perform mathematical operations here. Tomorrow, if you don't want to use calculator, you can come here. I mean, a lot of things you can do. So you are inside of a node environment right now, which is the V8 JavaScript engine environment. So it executes JavaScript code outside of the browser. So in browser, when you are loading your pages like this web page, it has some scripts, right? So it's executing those scripts here on the browser. Why browser is able to do it? Because browser also has the V8 engine. Chrome has the V8 engine. Let's see which. Mm, yeah. Does. Mm-hmm. V8. See, same engine used by Chrome. So that's browser is running this JavaScript, which is why you're able to interact with this. You can copy it. All this interaction that you see is JavaScript. Now, if you want to run it outside of the browser, then you're going to use Node for that, which is what I'm doing right now here. Okay. You can use it on CLI for servers and for side scripting also. Cool. I'm not going to spend too much time on Node again. I'll come back. So we did install, which is great. Now, after installing, they have created a script for you, which is basically run a development environment. Because why we need a development environment is because, go ahead. Correct. Correct. So we need to do that. And I think behind the scenes it's also using Webpack somewhere. It's using Webpack. Mhm. It's okay. Yeah, हो जाएगा याद. It's not exiting यार. Okay, exited. Okay, so now we are going to run a development environment, which is pnpm dev. Oops, again same thing. Uh, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to define this into my uh, oh my zsh, so I don't have this issue, because how many times I'm going to do that? You can install it, installed, homebrew, check installation, this is the path I'm talking about, export path, yeah, that's right. So I'm going to export path, and then I have to mention the path here. So which pnpm, you'll have to do all of these things. What? I just installed it. What do you mean by it's not there? Oh god. Anyways, I'm going to use brew to do this. So brew is a local package manager for your Mac. Okay. Why we're using this is because it's easy to manage. I have something locally, all the manager from all the packages locally. npm is for your JavaScript related packages, but there are PHP packages also. There are composer packages. So homebrew is going to install everything, different types of languages. It doesn't have to be just JavaScript. So I'm using homebrew for that to install pnpm, and then it's installed. Let me check if it's installed. Yep, it's installed, so that should work. So pnpm dev. Yep, that's one. Yes, yes. अभी फिलहाल ओपन माइंड रख और सुनता जा. ठीक है, तो अभी हमने क्या किया, ये डेवलपमेंट सर्वर हमने इसने स्टार्ट कर दिया है इस पोर्ट के ऊपर. अभी जो तुम्हारा ये ब्राउज़र चल रहा है ना, ये भी पोर्ट है, लेकिन वो हिडन है. ठीक ठीक है. तो ये क्या कर रहा है, बेसिकली यहाँ से उठा रहा है कोड, अंदर जो भी कोड इन्होंने लिखा है, ये सारे कंपोनेंट्स और पेजेस को हाँ, कंपाइल करके इसके अंदर डाल देता है वो. ठीक है. और वो उसको फिर उस पोर्ट के ऊपर रन कर रहा है. ठीक है. तो ये ऑलरेडी डमी इन्होंने क्रिएट किया है. अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. No, this is just an example project. ठीक है. Now going back. So your home page should look like this. Welcome to Acne, brought to you by Vercel. Uh, now why does it have a this is fine. That's fine. Now CSS styling. Let's work on your home page and discuss different ways you can start your application. तो अब CSS की बात करते हैं. I think मेरा ये जो Next.js डैशबोर्ड है ये पहले मैंने ऑलरेडी इस पे वर्क किया है इसीलिए तुम्हें CSS दिख रहा है. तो anyways, how to add global CSS to your application? Two different ways of adding Tailwind and CSS modules. तो या तो तू SAS यूज कर ले या फिर Tailwind. So Tailwind is I think is one of the best libraries. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, okay, that's fine. So how to conditionally add CLX utility package they're also using. So this package conditionally allows you to add classes. For example, जैसे कि यूज़र ने इस बटन पे क्लिक किया तो कलर चेंज होना चाहिए. तो कंडीशनली उसकी वैल्यू ट्रू और फॉल्स होगी तो वो क्लास नेम चेंज कर देगा या स्टाइल चेंज कर देगा. तो उसके लिए वो पैकेज यूज़ होता है. सो व्हाट दे आर सेइंग इज दैट द ग्लोबल ओके सो आई थिंक no, no. Faster plus there if there are any updates, let Next.js handle it. Now why are you gonna handle it ourselves? Okay, so I'm gonna just stop this recording and then I'm gonna do another recording.